Hello, my loves. I'm Ellie Frost. Thank you so much for being here, where we are talking about the multi-dimensional approach to rapidly and radically healing and transforming during and after narcissistic abuse. And this video is about how the narcissist grooms you to be submissive and accept their abuse, right? So the narcissistic abuse cycle is based on trauma bonding you. Keeping you in trauma bonds, which means they have to build you up and break you down, build you up and break you down, right? We want the person who caused the pain to take it away. That's what the trauma bond does to us, even though that's not healthy for us, right? They leave you with no resolution, with complete confusion and wanting to sort this out with them. But the narcissist does not want resolution. The video I made yesterday talks more about that, how the narcissist does not want to resolve anything with you, and throughout the relationship won't give you a straight answer, will keep you in rumination and trauma bond, right? But they're grooming you from the beginning to be submissive and accept their abuse. And what happens is, after the love bombing stage, because we've often fallen in love with them, or if they've been hoovering us and love bombing us, then we will turn a blind eye to the first red flags. And this is really tricky, right? Because I'm not recommending that in every relationship you just walk away when you see a red flag, because perfectly normal, healthy, non-codependent, non-narcissistic people sometimes mess up a bit, haven't got the best communication skills, making mistakes. So the point of that is, how does someone respond to communication and conflict is going to tell you everything you need to know about them in the relationship. I really believe that, in healthy situations, a little bit of conflict handled well brings people a lot closer together and actually creates intimacy. Because if you're brave enough to talk about how you're really feeling and the other person can help and resolve issues with you, then you're going to build a strong foundation. But if you're with a narcissist, they don't want resolution, they don't want peace, they don't want joy, they want you in constant agony, misery, confusion and trauma bonding, trying harder to win their attention, trying harder to prove yourself, trying harder and becoming a chronic people pleaser, right? So many of my clients and myself, I've said this on the videos, find themselves in narcissistic relationships and accepting behavior they never would have accepted down the line. I said about my ex-partner, he knew I wouldn't have accepted him if he was married and he hadn't got a divorce, but he told me he was divorced, which he wasn't. They slowly over time groom you, get you further and further invested in the relationship and keep eroding your boundaries, standards and values. The danger of this is that we then live a very unauthentic life. We're living in a relationship, like I did, which is against my values as a human being. But what had happened was, by the time I realized what the truth was, I was already very invested in this relationship. I was in love with this man, And so they slowly, over time, first of all, they shock you because they want to keep you trauma bonded, but they, over time, just go a bit further, go a bit further, go a bit further. So the more that they're eroding you down, pushing your boundaries, pushing your limits, the worse their behavior is getting, which is why the narcissistic relationship will always get worse over time. Most of us are hanging on, trying to fix it, trying to reconcile it, trying to take a narcissist to therapy. That's a whole different topic. We'll talk about that maybe on the channel. But we're trying to work on things when actually what they're working on is breaking you down slowly over time, more and more and more and more, and then their behavior can get even worse. Once they've cheated once and you've accepted it, right, now they're going to blame you. Well, you took me back. You shouldn't have took me back if you don't like it, But you would have taken them back because you love them, because you wanted the relationship to work. The narcissist was just grooming you for affairs, And many of them have many affairs, right? They don't just stop with one. They're not heartbroken. They're not upset. They know exactly what they're doing. And it sounds weird because they know their behavior is wrong. They know what your values are. They know that they're eroding you. They know what they're doing. They know the pain it's causing, and they don't stop. The narcissist does these terrible things on repeat, and they get worse over time. And part of the reason is because over time you're not the same person. You've disconnected from yourself, right? You're now often living against your values. So many people say to me about I don't know why I was accepting that, because at the beginning of a relationship, if someone gave you a printout and said you're going to accept this type of behavior, you'd have probably gone, no way. okay. But down the line in the relationship, you're invested emotionally, maybe financially. Often we are. I was invested emotionally, financially, physically, where I lived, everything. It's not as easy to break away. And when you're trauma bonded, you've got a very strong enmeshment to the narcissist, right? Which is stronger than an addiction because it's happening on a psychic and spiritual level as well as the physical and emotional. So I want you to know that if you're dealing with a narcissist, right, it's going to get worse over time. There's a lot in my program Sovereign on coming home to ourselves, knowing who we are, right? Again, and we work on values, boundaries and standards, right? So that we actually get very clear on what they are in a number of different contexts. So you can start living in integrity with yourself. One of the worst things of these cycles is that we stop trusting ourselves, we stop liking ourselves, we stop loving ourselves because we're living out of alignment with our truth, with our values, right? And that is what the narcissist wants. If you're disconnected and miserable, you're easier to control. And this relationship dynamic is all about domination, power and control. So my program Sovereign really helps you identify what those values are and not just write down a word like I value trust. I actually take you through like different life scenarios where you actually get to really think about what does that mean at work? What does that mean in friendships? What does that mean? And we do this work ongoing. I coach in that group every 2 weeks, so you get to ask your questions. But you see, most people, we've not taught this at school, aren't taught emotional intelligence and aren't actually taught to think about, well, what does my values mean? When you've got these roadmaps that I help you create, people can't push you. Like a lot of people, I mean, the last call I had, a lady on there was saying about how people are admiring her boundaries and admiring the way she's showing up in the world because she's now got her boundaries and standards intact, you know. And there's the way I teach it is beautiful. I teach you how to communicate those things in a beautiful way, so it's not aggressive, it's not on the defense all the time. You know, most people are used to having to put a boundary in on the defense when it's being crossed. I help you be ahead of that game, so you're living in integrity and alignment with yourself, and you're beautifully navigating life in alignment with your values, which is fulfilling. Yeah, and it's very easy then to know when someone just isn't aligned with those values, and you don't get caught up. But when we're not clear on these things and we haven't been taught emotional intelligence at school, it's easy to, you know, in hindsight see how we were slowly coming out of alignment with ourselves, but in the moment, you know, we haven't actually made the clarity in ourselves enough to not be swayed. Yeah, and especially when we're emotionally invested in someone, it's easier to be swayed. So these things really help you in every single area of your life, work, relationships included. Many people have written about how they've done better in their businesses because now they've got boundaries with even suppliers and things like that. So Sovereign is available to join. It is half price at the moment, 50% off if you pay in full. I recommend you get in there if you like this content. It is so life-changing, that work. I do it in a different way to what's out there. And it's so full of goodness, that program, very easy to put into your life. It's made for busy people, it's made for people with PTSD, so each segment's like 10-15 minutes. Some of the trainings might go on for 20-30, but I mean, it's designed to fit into your daily life, and the exercises are super fast and super effective. Please keep liking, subscribing and sharing. There is a free draw. One of you will win the Sovereign program on the 1st of March if you share a video and just email me which one you've shared. Lots of love, guys, and I'll speak to you soon.